Hi everyone, and welcome to another Star Wars Reading Club book review and discussion. And the book that we're going to be reviewing this week is Lords of the Sith by Paul S. Kemp. But before we get into the book, I just want to state up front that I plan on doing book reviews once a week. So that means that I'm going to be going through books quite quickly. And I just thought that I would just throw it out there that I'm more than happy to take requests or suggestions for the books that you guys want to see reviewed or that you guys think that I might enjoy. So if you want to just leave that down in the comments section below or even just get a hold of me through Twitter, I'm at SW Reading Club on Twitter. I'd be more than happy to take suggestions for the books that you guys want to see reviewed. But let's jump into the review here. I think a good place to start is just to say that I really enjoyed this book. It was quite a different change of pace from last week's book, which was Bloodline. If that one centered around the politics of the galaxy, then this one was pretty much on the opposite end of that. This one had a lot of action and really surrounded around Darth Vader, of course, and the Emperor, and just, you know, the dark side and the Sith and that type of stuff. Now, it didn't really have a lot of overarching information that could apply to a lot of the movies like The Force Awakens or even the original trilogy in the same way that Bloodline did. This is more of a one-off book, but it really is sort of a character study just into Darth Vader, which is something that I was really hoping to get out of the book. Just in regard to the timeline, if you guys aren't sure, this one takes place 5 years after the events in Revenge of the Sith. So relative to, for example, what we see in Rebels or what we see, of course, in the original trilogy, this one is pretty early into the stage of when Anakin Skywalker transitions into Darth Vader. I mean, it is 5 years, but this is pretty much the earliest indication that we get of just what Darth Vader is thinking and sort of his training under the Emperor. So I was really happy to see that. But I guess if we just start with the character of Darth Vader, I just have to say that I think that Paul Kemp did a great job just with writing Vader. It was funny, I think early on he just sort of made the point, I think one of the just kind of wrote it in there that for the naval officers, Vader would make them extremely uncomfortable just due to the fact that he was someone who had emerged from nowhere and then possessed powers that they didn't really understand. And I just kind of thought about that too, and it is sort of funny that when you think about it from their standpoint, he would be a hugely intimidating individual, just given the fact that, yeah, he does come out of nowhere, that nobody knows that at this point he was Anakin Skywalker previously. So I like that Paul Kemp sort of framed it in that way and just kind of gave us the basis for how other Imperial officers saw him. And in this book, we definitely see Vader do some badass stuff. For example, there was that scene where he force chokes Isval from his ship when she's in a completely different ship. I thought that that was really cool, just a sort of great scene for Vader. But one of the other things that I really liked about how Paul Kemp was sort of framing everybody's conception of Darth Vader was just the fact that particularly the Free Ryloth movement, they didn't really have any idea of who Darth Vader was or even what he was. It's really pushed in a lot of scenes throughout the novel that everyone's questioning, well, is this even a man? And people are sort of jumping back and forth that, you know, this might be a machine and it couldn't possibly be a man. No human could do the things that he's doing. So that was a really kind of a point that kept popping back up throughout the novel. And it really wasn't until at the end of the book when Darth Vader was sitting with the other Twi'leks, just kind of you saw a little bit of humanity sort of come out of Darth Vader at that point as he's sort of working on the communications box or whatever it was that he had there. So I really like how Paul Kemp treated the character of Darth Vader. And also, too, in the same regard, I thought that he did a great job for the Emperor. And we got to see a lot of action from the Emperor in this novel, which I was really happy to see. I could never understand why in a lot of the Star Wars media, whether it be the TV shows like the Clone Wars or Rebels, or in a couple other books, and particularly in the prequel trilogy, why we never saw the Emperor do, sort of use the Force to a great extent, or to really go out and not utilize Vader so much, to kind of go out himself. And of course, the reason behind that is because he sort of has to hide his use of the Force, just because he doesn't really want anyone else to know. But I was very happy that in this book we do get to see the Emperor use his lightsaber quite a bit, and also just use the Force while fighting beside Darth Vader. And that was just something that I wanted to see, just because my favorite Star Wars books always had the Master do a lot of the fighting himself, whether it be Darth Bane in the Darth Bane trilogy, or even Darth Plagueis in Darth Plagueis. So it is nice to see the Master kind of take the reins every now and again. But there was also a funny sort of quote that I think that Moth Mars, I should say, just sort of states that when she's looking for him, that he's just an elderly man and can't be moving too quickly. So it is funny too, if nobody really knows what Darth Vader is, kind of a man or a machine, people kind of have assumed that the Emperor is just this old man who doesn't really have a lot of the powers that he actually does possess. So I really liked what Paul Kemp did with Darth Vader and the Emperor. And also too, at the same time, I thought even the scenes with the Free Ryloth movement, particularly Cham Syndulla and Isval, those were even really riveting. And early in the book, I was kind of the opinion that I just want to get to the Darth Vader and the Emperor scenes and sort of quickly move past all of the Free Ryloth stuff. But that stuff even that side of things really got engaging and was really riveting, like I said, as you went through the book. And, you really start to feel for, of course, the Twi'leks of Ryloth. It seems like in every sort of Star Wars media, they're always getting the raw end of the deal. It even popped back up in Bloodline, whereas even after Return of the Jedi, when they destroyed the Hutts, now there's sort of somebody trying to step into that power vacuum. But nonetheless, the Free Ryloth movement, all of that stuff was really engaging. I mean, excellently written sort of action scenes with their attack on the Star Destroyer. So great job there again by Paul Kemp. But I guess also too, just moving on to, I forgot to mention the relationship between Darth Vader and the Emperor. That stuff was really great to see as well, because you really sort of saw that the Emperor sort of treated Darth Vader as a friend, and really had that master and apprentice relationship going on in this book. Which again too, like I was mentioning before, one of the sort of interesting things to see with the Sith, particularly during the Rule of Two era, is just to see the relationship building and sort of how they treated each other. That is the master and the apprentice. Again, Darth Bane with Darth Zana was always very interesting, and even Darth Sidious's master, Darth Plagueis. Again, very interesting to see what's passed along to the apprentice. And again, too, it's just sort of always that tension where they both sort of know that it's the apprentice's duty at one point to kill the master and take the place. So it's always just interesting to see how that master-apprentice relationship builds. And it was good to see it sort of develop between Darth Vader and the Emperor in this novel. Another part of the novel that I thought was pretty interesting was just the information that we were given on the Emperor's royal guards. It was very interesting to find out that they did actually know that the Emperor could use the Force and sort of the power that he had, but kept hidden. And I thought that it was interesting that they knew the secret, but it was something that obviously they couldn't tell anyone else, but they couldn't even discuss it amongst each other. So it did show that the Royal Guard was extremely loyal to the Emperor, and I thought that there was a couple of funny scenes in there where they even sort of went over and above Vader's head to sort of just say that, well, we're completely loyal to the Emperor. We're going to wait for what he tells us what to do and not necessarily take orders from you. So the Royal Guards, very interesting. I also thought it was interesting, and we see it a lot in Star Wars books. I know it was in A New Dawn, which I had read earlier this year, but just the sort of cunning and the personal ambitions getting in between the Imperial officers, which of course we saw with Moth Moors and then also Belcor Dre. So I thought that that was interesting. I like those two characters as well. You really see that Dre gets himself into a tough spot trying to become the Moth, and then, you know, ends up having to just kind of, with no way out, he sort of gets backed into a corner. So I like those two characters, but probably the thing that I enjoyed the most and something that I wanted to kind of see a little bit of in the novel was just sort of Vader's remembering of his past. And we do see in the novel that he does actually have quite a few memories of the past of when he was Anakin Skywalker. I was shocked when it's brought up that he remembers Ahsoka and Obi-Wan and even Padme. And then there's also names and situations he remembers, such as Mace Windu and Plo Koon. I was really shocked to see those come up. And it was interesting that Paul Kemp sort of frames them that he tries to use his anger to sort of push them off to the side, but you know, whatever he does, the memories are always at the forefront of his consciousness. And you know, the Padme stuff was really surprising. But even the Ahsoka, I've been sitting on this Anakin Ahsoka video for probably a couple of months now, ever since the season finale of season 2 of Star Wars Rebels. And I was really happy to get a lot of that information because it is quite telling, especially since we're at only 5 years after Revenge of the Sith. So I thought that his memories of the past kind of cropping up was a really interesting part of the novel, and really is kind of the main point of the novel. I think too, the fact that the Emperor was testing Darth Vader, which is pretty much why they go to Ryloth in the first place. At the end of the day, even though the Emperor sort of wanted to have the Free Ryloth movement sort of use up all of their equipment and supplies and then kind of burn that movement out, at the end of the day it really was about testing Darth Vader. And you know, even he at the end of the book kind of realizes that it was a big test from the Emperor, and sort of saw that the Emperor was right to administer the test because he did have feelings and memories that were popping back up, and he kind of framed it to the Emperor. I really like this. This was a great part of the novel. He sort of framed it to the Emperor was as if I'm having these memories kind of pop up, but really it's a good thing for me because what I'm doing is using it to sort of focus my anger and sort of push his hatred. But really, I think at the end of the day, the Emperor knew that that wasn't necessarily true. And really, at the end of the day, those memories were a huge weakness that Darth Vader had. So I like the fact that we do have, even 5 years after Revenge of the Sith, that Vader's getting all these memories and having these emotions pop up, even though he's trying to push the memories off to the side. And then the Emperor, at this point, is kind of coming to the realization that these memories are a huge weakness for Darth Vader, and kind of puts him through this test where he does sort of have the memories, but then is able to overcome them and really become seduced by the dark side. So I thought that that was a great part of the novel. The one thing too is, I mean, the ending was pretty brutal, and I did kind of feel some guilt because I was hoping to see Vader do some badass stuff in the novel, just probably as a bit of a hangover from wanting to see it in the prequels. But man, did I feel guilty when he kind of murders and slaughters the villages, and then also too the execution of Isval was kind of tough as well. But I think that the book ends on just a great quote, and really hats off to Paul Kemp. Just when Isval's about to be executed, she kind of tries to divide herself from what Darth Vader's doing, just by saying that, yes, I murder too, but when I murder out of love. And then Vader sort of says to her, just before cutting off her head, "I know precisely what you mean." So that's a great quote. I mean, knowing what we know about Vader, him being pushed to the dark side because he loved too much, he couldn't really let go of his love for Padme. And when he did lose it at the end of the day, that love is what drove him to be Darth Vader. So I thought that this was just a great book. There was a lot in there that was very interesting. Like I said, probably doesn't have too much effect on the story that's to come in episodes 7, 8, 9, or even kind of too telling for the episodes of Rebels or even the original trilogy. But there is some great stuff in there, and it is just a great standalone book for me, just to kind of look at a character study of Darth Vader. So I was very happy to get that. Again, too, this is a book that I would recommend. It is canon, so I considered it to be sort of a must-read, just because it is canon, but then also, too, just the timeline stuff and information on Darth Vader as well. But those are my thoughts and opinions of Lords of the Sith by Paul S. Kemp. I hope that you guys enjoyed this review and discussion. As I mentioned at the start of the video, I'm more than happy to take requests or just hear your suggestions for upcoming videos and reviews. I think for next week what I'm going to do is I'm either going to read Tarkin or probably just leave the whole canon aside, because I have read Bloodline and Lords of the Sith now. I might jump out of the official canon and try to get a interesting Legends book to read. So I'll let you guys know what book I'm going to be reading next. If you guys just want to follow me on Twitter, I'll just kind of make mention the next book on there. But like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review and discussion. I look forward to talking to you guys again soon.